I came from a camp that have this opinion that not only we should control what children should consume, but we need to regulate it to the point that you know think of not only just to avoid risk but generation building. And I think this kind of conversation also came into play with a recent announcement by the government to ban children below 16 years old. I think this might be relevant
social media.
on social media.
A lot of parents, grandparents like to blame their children for their screen time. Hello, who give the screen? It's the parents.
Yeah.
You cannot assign blame to the children when the parents are the one giving the screen to the children.
Yeah.
Right? Not
And then you marah.
to be fair. I think you have to regulate the use of screen time for your
Alright. What are the dangers that you
you know
actually rolling at this?
Rolling.
What are the tricks that I try to get as more candid as
let me say this. So NSCT for children, also known as against Cocomelon.
against Cocomelon?
What was your reflection on democracy?
I think from the episode of on democracy, actually there's a lot of things that I wish to we talk more, we dive more. Because the idea, discussion about democracy is very diverse. Not only diverse, but it has so much depth to it. The proponents and the critiques of democracy are both valid in a sense. And I think we need that kind of conversation to get going, to move forward. And we couldn't possibly fit that kind of time into a very small 1 hour format. I think the content didn't work.
We have a very big crew now on set. Amazing people behind here. Oh wait, it's just the two of us.
From the beginning, from the editing and the plugging of the devices into the power plug, everything been done by only the two of us.
I mean, it'd be nice to have an AV crew to help the timer. But anyways, let's press on. Democracy was such a difficult topic to talk.
Yes.
And the surface are a lot of the different concepts. Because what are we going to talk about today?
So today we are going to talk about something much more niche, if I can, because this involves a very pressing issue, which is the title will be against Cocomelon. But actually what we are trying to talk about is internet safety for children. Because I think, this is not one of the conversation where, we try a lot of old people, they try to pile up the blame of whatever social problems and ills onto the younger generation. No, this is not one of those conversations. What we are trying to discuss here, how to build a better internet environment for children, because the main consumer of internet content, I think the data can speak for itself, that almost the majority of the consumer for internet content is children. That's why even YouTube, they separated YouTube normal, the mainstream YouTube and YouTube Kids, because they don't want the kids demographic to skew the viewership of YouTube. I mean, if you compare, this is one thing that I read a few years back lah. Someone compared the viewing time between PewDiePie, which is at the time the highest subscriber solo YouTube personality, and Ryan's Toy, if I'm not mistaken, the name of the channel, which is just a video of this kid reviewing toys, and they found out that there is actually a higher viewership and retention time for the Ryan YouTube channel, Ryan Toys, if I'm not mistaken. So that is something that is, for whatever it is, even if you say that, internet doesn't really have much of a risk to kids, the volume of consumption by children on the internet content is warrant at least some discussion, at the very least. But for me, I came from a camp that not only we should control what children should consume, but we need to regulate it to the point that, think of not only just to avoid risk, but generation building. And I think this kind of conversation also came into play with a recent announcement by the government to ban children below 16 years old. I think this might be relevant
social media.
on social media. How about you, Zaid? What do you think about this topic?
4 years old and 1 year old. And obviously, my wife and I tried to regulate their screen time. And it's easy said than done. Ideally, for the first one, we expose him to screen at a young age. But the second one, we actually regulate his screen time. And so for the younger one, he actually doesn't have a phone. He doesn't actually watch anything on the phone. We don't let him watch anything on the phone. And actually, I noticed that in terms of behavior, a lot of difference in behavior. So like A/B testing, right? The first child older, he watches the device, he's really into it. The second younger one, which doesn't, we don't give him screen time when it comes to the phone. He's a lot more active.
Active.
Running around, figuring out things, walking around. And that's telling, because the reality is children are meant to be children. Children at this age are not meant to be on their devices. They are too young. Their bodies are too young to handle the overstimulation that they're seeing on the screen. It is tiring for people our age. Can you imagine what more for children, right? The overstimulation, the potential mental health issues, the potential intellectual, cognitive issues that they might face. So it is actually a very difficult subject. And I'm reminded of a controversial remark by the current Prime Minister of Singapore, Lawrence Wong. And he said that in one of the policy speeches that he delivered, I think during National Day Parade this year, he said that the Singapore government wants to, I suppose, regulate or prohibit the use of screen for children below a certain age. And they got a massive backlash by the public because it's not easy to handle children. For non-parents, if you don't have kids, actually it's very difficult to handle parents, to handle children.
Yeah, actually, for this level.
For you, it's parents and your children, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think there needs to be empathy and understanding on both sides. Parents, the reason why many of them resort to the screen for the children, sometimes because they want to, but sometimes they just have to contend with the neoliberal capitalist structure that we're in, the low income household that has to survive and not being able to have daycare for the children. Sometimes we assume that our parents can take care of our children. Assume. Sometimes your parents may not even be alive.
It's true.
And your parents may be living very far, far away from your children. So there's so much implicit, there's so much assumptions when it comes to when it comes to that particular topic. So it's a good topic. Maybe we'll kick off. We have a bit of an outline here, but maybe we'll do a free flow discussion. But maybe Luqman, I'll pass it back to you for the next one.
Yeah. So before we can dive deeper into this topic, Zaim already not spoiler, but already give hints to what kind of arena, what kind of deep stuff that we are going to dive into. The major big topic is how the neoliberal policy has shaped our lives. It ties very well to it. Trust us, we're going to that. But first, before we go there, we must ask ourselves, why is this a problem in the first place? Why do we regard this as a problem? Because if this is not a problem, people won't raise an issue about this. But I saw a lot of parents and non-parents alike, they are started to raise concern. I think if we look at, even in daily conversation, whenever people having kids, bring their kids to their parents or to their relatives' place, and all these old people said, your kids is actually get too much of a screen time. You should do something about it. And it became so prevalent that I think it's worth for us to investigate why. I think could you hazard a reason why?
We'll share some data if you don't mind. I listened to a podcast by Carl Newport. He's a professor of computer science in Georgetown University, US. And he talks about this issue extensively. And actually, there are many research. And I know I can't cite the specific research. I have some of my notes, but I can tell you offhand some of his notes. There's a bunch of studies that have shown that the risk is real.
How real is it?
It's very real. Right? Heavy screen exposure to children at the young age can lead to weaker white matter linkages in the brain. And so this is important for language, self-control, cognitive, intellectual development. In essence, what it means is the kids' intellectual development will be slower. They watch too much screen time. And the actual language, right? Research have shown, and this is by, I'm going to get this wrong, but JAMA Pediatrics, right? So this is a organization that does research on this multiple times. And they found that ability to communicate language is slower when the kid is watching too much screen. That means they speak slower.
Speak slower?
The ability to speak is slower, as opposed to some kids that don't have exposure to heavy screen time. Now, screen time by itself is not negative. And the idea of Cocomelon, right? So Cocomelon, if you don't know, is the number one at one point or
at one point, yeah.
I mean, even not the biggest children entertainment platform, and they are very, very heavy in YouTube, right? Cocomelon, and they're known for their song in the beginning.
Cocomelon, oh God, I hate it so much.
Even if you don't watch it, also you probably know that song. Right?
And I don't even have kids. Yeah.
So that's and the problem is a lot of parents, grandparents like to blame their children for their screen time. Hello, who gave the screen? It's the parents.
Yeah.
You cannot assign blame to the children when the parents are the one giving the screen to the children.
Yeah.
Right? Not
and then you marah.
To be fair, I think you have to regulate the use of screen time for your children. If you can use it, yes. They use it, if you can, watch it with them. So you can also teach them. And this is Carl Newport's point, is that when you can give screen time, he actually spends time with the children watching the content. So then the parent themselves understand what they're watching, what are the kids watching. And here's the important point, filtering. There's so much you tell them what to watch or what not to watch. You tell them what's happening in that video. You give them the moral compass. That's not right, or this is right. And this is how but you still need to regulate screen time. Now, it is not the same as banning social media for under 16 years. I think that's a separate topic. But broadly speaking, yes, there's a regulation when it comes to this thing. So there's the dimension of early childhood development, specifically the brain. Right? If you're highly sensitive to stimuli, and in this case, overstimulation to the screen, YouTube, social media, what have you, Roblox was another one big issue, right? Minecraft, Roblox, is going to have some deep impact on your language, your intellectual, critical thinking skills, your ability to interact with other human beings. And that's important, right? So you may not be able to communicate more comfortably with other people for these children. So I think that's a starting point. There are risks. There's a reason why I think grandparents and uncles that say, like, hey, why is the kid addicted to the phone, right? So obviously, who enabled it? Parents. So parents and people in general, even if you don't have kids, you have nephews or nieces, hopefully, you need to pay close attention because we are raising a generation that could potentially be glued to the screen and have some serious addiction issues.
So, I mean, speaking about the formative years of children and the cognitive development of children, I'm reminded that during the heyday of psychology, I think in the 1970s to the 1980s, the field of pediatric psychology, if I'm not mistaken, pediatric psychology, is pretty much booming. And in those times, obviously, I was not born yet at the age, but from what I read and from what I know from that age is people are treating the findings, the psychological findings, as something very important for them to follow. Like for example, the experiment between the iron mothers and real mothers, the monkey experiment. Yeah, and it sort of propelled or gives the narrative that no, you must take care of you need to hug your children more, and that's the sort of paved way to what we know as gentle parenting right now, right? And during those years also, parents as a whole, from what I know, they have this understanding that children are not merely an object of you pouring your love. It is also a literal human being that you are given responsibility to take care of. You are given responsibility to ensure that your child will turn out whole and full. right? During that time, the parents, they took it very seriously. That's why, if I'm not mistaken, parents during that time, they really have quite a bad aversion to kids watching television, even though in contrast, television is really not that bad compared to now. Yeah. And like video games as well. But something happened along the way when we entered the 2000s, um, we sort of forgot that the idea of taking care, how to take care of children, really, not really how to take care of children, and not really how to give love to your children. That's a separate story. But to guide them and to ensure that their growth, their cognitive growth, their social skills are pretty much on par. And this is what we afraid of. What are the reason? What are the things? What are the factors that makes the parents of the 2000s era giving too much of a leeway to their kids?
Yeah.
What are the things? And this is where I wanted to chip in. As I talk about parents, the proponents the parents who are supportive of this idea of giving gadgets and much leeway of screen time to children, they say that no, it's actually not easy to take care of kids, and they have too much of a responsibility. They couldn't possibly juggle their time.
Yes.
And also mention about the backlash in Singapore.
Yeah.
Whenever this conversation about banning social media, if I'm not mistaken. Is it? Yeah.
Screen time.
Yeah, screen time.
For children.
Yeah. And if you look at, actually, there's a thorough line to this, right? Why in Singapore that they have so much of a backlash? I mean, wasn't Singapore supposed to be like this super advanced, policy-wise, not super advanced, very people-centric? I think the thorough line is that our society right now, we gave too much of a stress on how to create, even in our national conversation, we talk about people not in terms of people. We talk about people in terms of labor, labor force, participatory rate, our reproductive. We are much more focused on turning regular human beings into workers, into gears in a machine. Simply, nothing more than that. And over time, this creates some sort of a blind spot for the real reason why we are here in this world, which is to give love. Not only to give love to our persons of interest, but also give love to our children and how to build the family. We can see the trajectory. If I may hazard some speculation, right? There's a joke. There's the patterns of joke. In the early 2000s, the patterns of joke is I hate my wife, I hate my husband. My husband is stupid, my wife is stupid, right? And why? Because my husband couldn't do the domestic work. My wife couldn't couldn't cook for me. So that's the kind of joke. Oh, I hate my wife. Right? I hate my boss. I hate my wife. Even worse. So that's a joke. But now it shifted the deprecation level, the boundaries of what we thought of, of the joke has become much bigger. Now we have parents that proudly joking about, I have a very useless son. I have a very useless daughter. My daughter is a streamer. My son is a gamer. And they genuinely loathe it, but because of the social taboos, they turn it into some kind of joke. Why so? I think it's because of the patterns of our society, because of we are treating humans more of a machine, that these companies, our workplace have stolen much of our time. First and foremost, much of our time. The first stage is reduce the time for spouses to give proper attention to each other. And now, when the economy has gotten worse, with the rate of falling profit is getting much realer, not only it stole a time to give love to spouses, but also to cherish love with our kids. And I think that's what happened. That's why in Singapore, with that, I don't know, maybe you can quote the data on this. Maybe it is unsurprising the Singaporeans are against this ban of social media to kids, because as a coping mechanism, Singapore, their time, their productivity level is like so straining. I don't know how many hours they spend on workplace, right?
Yeah.
So they couldn't possibly take care of their kids.
Yeah.
and cause a lot of, pardon my word, but some retardation in the developmental process of young Singaporeans, if I'm not mistaken. And this is not an isolated case. I mean, it also happened in fairly advanced society. And this is what, I regret. Sure, we can talk about what kind of policies, what kind of preventative measures that we can recommend to our government. But it couldn't possibly be a true cure to this problem if we didn't address the root cause, which is we spend too much time in the workplace. Yeah. What do you think, Zaim?
Crux of the issue.
Yeah.
The symptoms of what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
The health issue, the issues when it comes to intellectual and cognitive development amongst children, mental health issues, societal issues in general. I just quickly at that point, I'll jump into the root cause. Yeah? We didn't touch on this just now, but we should touch this ADHD like symptoms on the increase, right? Obviously among kids, but also among adults. There was the study I mentioned just now, JAMA, I don't know, JAMA, Pediatrics. They found out that ADHD like symptoms are on the rise because of screen time. And is related, obviously correlation, but not necessarily causation when it comes to ADHD-like symptoms and media consumption, heavy media consumption. And what happens is, even now, I would hazard a guess, argue, that many of us struggle to read books. And reading a book actually is a muscle. The less books you read and the more time you consume what do you call it? This short.
Yeah, some quick bites. Yeah, short form contents. Yeah.
3 seconds, right? Your ability, your muscle to read books deteriorate rapidly, right? And this is why I don't spend time on social media. To be completely honest, I don't spend enough time on social media, and I try not to. Because reading is hard, and what happens is actually this has resulted in the decline in PISA scores.
PISA scores?
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. So it was increasing 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's been declining. The person I mentioned earlier, called report, said that directly related to social media, the attention economy. And I think it would cost, right? So I alluded to it earlier when it comes to the neoliberal system that we're in. And obviously, just a quick primer. Neoliberal basically refers to new classical liberal economics. The idea, as in sum, is the market reigns supreme. The market should decide how society is governed with some regulation, but ultimately shareholder supremacy. Companies should, in many ways, shape how society is formed. And I'm a bit leftist. Luqman is basically left. Obviously, we are not in favor of neoliberal policies because of what you mentioned. Not just Singapore, many countries in ASEAN work extremely long hours. And not just one parent, dual households, right? So 2 parents have to work long hours. And even after working so many hours, you still cannot afford childcare. So in Malaysia, right? In Singapore, I'm more progressive in this regard. In Malaysia, according to Khazanah Research Institute, KRI, not KSI.
It's one letter away.
2022 research, and they are known for a lot of social studies. Yeah, amazing stuff. They found out that childcare costs is taking up a big chunk of people's income. And so that's for people who can afford. For people who can't afford, what happens? They use screen as the babysitter. They don't outsource childcare to the screen, to the devices. And he's right in some regard, but you also have to look at the root cause. And the root cause here obviously is the neoliberal economy that we're in now. Let's be more specific, yeah. Because sometimes people on the left, they like to use this as a punching bag. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Let me be more specific. The attention economy.
Attention economy.
Data. These are the commodities at the time.
Yeah, things are the past.
If I can get your attention, I can influence you, manipulate you, I can sell you things. And so, who are people in the attention economy? The big tech guys. Meta.
Palantir.
Facebook. Oh, not there yet.
You're not there.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok, yeah.
YouTube to some extent. Right? Social media companies. You have to understand one thing. They profit from you looking at the screen. They profit from this. They make billions of ad dollars from you looking at the screen. And that's I don't want to paint them as the boogeyman. And I think, in some regards, governments, especially in ASEAN, have pushed back to tell these platforms, you will have to put um, real guards on how, especially children use this stuff. And so this is very important because if we don't think of the attention economy as part of discussion, we're going to be shooting in the dark. Because let's be absolutely clear, the PISA scores I mentioned earlier, the academic results that dropped about 10 years ago, about 10 to 13 years ago, directly correlate with the rise of social media. Facebook started in the 2000s, but it really took off with Instagram and Twitter to 2012, 2013.
Yes.
And that's when we see the fall, not just at PISA, meaning your science and maths academic performance, but also reading. People read less from that period onwards. And suddenly you see also a spike in mental health issues. That same period, multiple studies, I don't have the data here, but multiple studies have shown that there's a correlation between the rise of social media and also the rise of mental health issues, the drop and decline of people reading books, the drop and decline of PISA and TIMS, I think the maths and science performance results. So we have to be clear-eyed about this because failure to recognize the neoliberal system, specifically attention economy, I think if we don't recognize that, I think we're going to have a difficult time diagnosing the problem at hand.
I am also reminded by the age old, adage, I don't know, actually.
Adage, yeah.
Yeah, adage, which is to raise a child, you need it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child, and it couldn't be more true now. I mean, Zaim talked about the attention economy and the neoliberal paradigm that we are living in. I mean, we don't have to speculate very far, right? And I'm using the word speculate very very lightly here, lah. We don't have to. We just have to observe what does our society prioritize right now, right? Before this, right? Before, if I'm not mistaken, before the rise of suburban housing, when they built when they built houses for people to live in, one of the things that they built also, they built kindergartens, like big kindergartens. And the government also said that, oh, you need to have schools, you need to have some padang bola, a football field, and at some level, maybe some semblance of a park. And if you look at, semblance of a park lah, like for kids, anything can be a park lah. Even hutan also can be a park lah. But over time, you can see in the suburban architecture, the size of playground has been receding. If you notice lah, right? And now, if you look at even in Rawang or any some place in Shah Alam, it is really hard to find a children's playground as compared to a photocopy kedai. If you notice lah, photocopy shop. Photocopy shop, the printer shop, you photostate stuff, right? It is much easier to find a printer shop. Actually, if you go around, like for me personally, I like to do a lot of not stupid things lah, but I like to do random observation driving around and trying to count things. I like to count things. So this is one thing I noticed in a lot of new neighborhoods in Shah Alam, in Rawang, even in Kuala Selangor, some part of Kuala Selangor. It's true. I have a much harder time to find playgrounds as compared to printer shop. Why? Because printer shop is really related to working lah. You need to buy reams of A4 paper. You need to buy chalks. Yeah, it is quintessential productivity shop.
Yeah.
But not playgrounds, right? And we're just talking about suburbans. We have yet to talk about high-rise buildings. If you go to some areas in Gombak, I think buildings built by Masing Group, you can see this towering Hong Kong style buildings, right? And if you measure the area of the kids' playground builds, there's a huge disparity. And once you notice things like that, you kind of it is hard to unnotice.
Sure. To unsee.
It is hard to unsee. Unnotice. You inevitably you sort of make connections. We complain about a lot of things in our society. We complain about the rise of social delinquency, children not doing this, parents abandoning their children, social issues, and so on and so forth. We like to complain things. And, there's a difference between social scientists, and the layman. Whereas laymen, normal people, when they see this kind of things, they will recommend easy fix. Mak Empik cases are on the rise. What should we do? We should tax petrol higher.
Yeah.
We should make the cost of ownership for this motorcycle much higher.
Yeah.
Right? Or that, or is it social delinquency? We must have stricter. No? But as a social scientist, we know that there is just a quick fix. The real cause is that the ties onto the bigger theme, which is the loss of community.
I want to make it ASEAN,
ASEAN.
if you don't mind.
Mm.
Village.
Yeah, village.
Village is a concept. Laos, Cambodia, Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam, Timor-Leste.
In Singapore.
In Singapore, there's a concept known as the Kampung spirit. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Kampung spirit.
Kampung spirit.
So the foundation of Singapore is a kampung. And a kampung. A kampung is a kampung. Kampung is a village. And you have a kampung, I have a kampung. Hometown. And, you know, growing up. And I don't want to sound like a grandpa. Oh, back in the days. Reality is, we actually balanced out. I remember I grew up in a generation, in an era where half the time, half of my first life, the first half of my life, we had no street. Internet was there, but it was for work. And so what we did, during, in the evenings, we go out and play football with our friends. No football boots.
Yes. Yeah. You're worse if you wear slippers. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I understand their safety concerns. Now, there are always big safety concerns from the past. I just feel like parents back then were more chill, more relaxed. Right? Parents nowadays are more cautious, right? Because I think there is a romanticization of the past of, it used to be safer back then. I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
I think there was no social media to highlight every single issue.
Yeah, instances of bad things.
There was no.
Yeah.
There was no viral videos. It was fine. While they were busy cooking or cleaning the house, right? They let their children out and out of the house and play. And it is a village, right? I remember playing this with my friends, right? Cycling, getting hit by people and all that stuff, right? It's part of growing up. Nowadays, unfortunately, I think we live in an environment where this is less common, a lot less common, where parents will allow their kids to go out and play. And I think, it's okay to play the playgrounds with other people, but I just feel that the kampung spirit is less now. That we are not as friendly also. I live in a condo and, unfortunately, the people may not be as friendly as I like them to be, right? And I think this is the environment that we're in. There is a concept in Malay, and I think you will agree with this, called gotong royong. And this is the best definition, for people that don't understand this. Gotong royong means the bearing of the world's burden by trusted friends.
That's a very good.
That's what it actually is. And the imagination of gotong royong is not what you think of. If you Google nowadays, it's some community project, they're cleaning up rubbish. No, that's not gotong royong. Right? It's communal cleanup. It's the region, not just Indonesia or Malaysia, Singapore. Is literally people would move houses, their kampung house. People will go to the kampung house, carry the kampung house together and move to a different location. And gotong royong is spontaneous. It's not something that you plan 3 months beforehand with a spreadsheet and PowerPoint deck. No, it's spontaneous. If we have a gotong royong, we do it spontaneously. We go out there and we go and help people. Right? So the spirit of gotong royong is alive because of the kampung. Alive because the concept that we are connected to each other, physically, mentally, intellectually, ideologically, politically, in every single sense. And that if one of our neighbors is hurt, we are also hurt. If one of the neighbors' house is on fire, our house is also on fire, figuratively speaking. And so that spirit, the village spirit, the kampung spirit, is something I think it's hard to think of a policy option because this is more philosophical for people in our region, right? Is how do we bring back the kampung spirit? How do we bring back gotong royong, where people are together in this journey? Because ASEAN, unlike the West, gotong royong is in our blood. And now people say, but Zaim, you're looking back at the past. No, it can even be virtual gotong royong, digital gotong royong, right? Helping people during the COVID pandemic. We had lockdowns across the region, but in Malaysia it was pretty bad. The white flag movement, There is an example.
Textbook definition.
Digital gotong royong.
Yeah.
Let me hit you there. Let me just send something. Even before we talk about policy options or talking about how can we have to rebuild the village. We have to rebuild the gotong royong spirit.
Yeah.
And when you do that, that's at the foundational level. It can counteract the neoliberal tendencies. It can counteract also the symptom, which is screen time. The screen time is just a symptom.
Yeah, it's true.
So we can talk about neoliberal and the many symptoms. Screen time is one of the symptoms, but it's one of the more visible, damaging symptoms that is actually will have long-term impact on our society. Because if you don't regulate, I'm sorry, this is the R word, right? So people get a bit regulate. You have to regulate this behavior. If you don't do that, the damage to the developmental needs of the children will be there, and we will have to contend with that issue 50 years down the line. So this is
yeah.
So I felt so smart.
Let me try to translate what Zaim said in a much more leftist terms, because I perhaps there are a few of our viewers who are from Bangsa. Yeah. Yeah, or from Hartama, I said, oh, what's this Malay word? Translate it. It is actually mutual aid and collectivization and socialization of care. I think the reason why we have so much aversion to community I think because of we have put a bit of an imbalance of emphasis towards hyper individualism. Oh, we said, being hyper individual is good. Why? Huh?
Give context about this hyper individualism.
Hyper individualism, I think the reason why we have so much of a hyper individualism right now is it is much more convenient economically. So, like for example, it ties also into the commodification of things. For example, before this, we don't have caretakers. Like during the age of our grandparents and our ancestors, when there's the pengasuh where you send your children to kindergarten. No. What you do, if you are working, you send your children, maybe you ask for your mom, your grandmother, or your great uncle to help take care.
Yeah.
Right? Free of cost. Right? You don't pay anything. And if your son is getting married, what you do? You don't have this catering or whatever. No. You just no hotels. You just call the imam, right? And they said, anak aku nak kahwin. Anak boleh tak tolong orang kampung ni? Saya akan provide lah. Provide pula. Saya akan sediakan lah. Bawang. Yeah. And the whole of orang kampung, the whole of orang kampung will come together and will cook the stuff free of charge. Gotong royong. That's literally gotong royong. But why does it change? Why are we so focused on having individualism? Because there's a trade-off. Yeah. This world is not. I believe in zero-sum game world. There's a trade-off. Yeah. If we reduce community, then the gaps of the community services can be taken by the private sector. Yeah. We don't send our children to our parents, to our grandparents, or great aunties, our relatives anymore, but we send to a carer, to kindergarten, and then we pay some money. Our kampung, our village, cannot provide the services. They don't know how to cook together. Instead, we go to catering. So, in terms of GDP, economically, it makes sense. And the policymakers will say, this is good. Yeah. This is good. This is good news for us. But socially, it doesn't make any sense, right? And okay, you can say whatever you want about economy, whether this is good or whatever. But one thing that I think you also agree that this effectively has reduced the ability of our community to do things. So, but internally we say some detractors to this idea of community, these people who are still licking the boots of capitalism So, I'm so sorry to say it. They said all these orang kampung, all these villagers, my neighbors, if we got together, there will be a few of them that their attitudes are not really up to communal standards their back talk, backstab, whatever. But may I remind, right? This is a zero-sum. The price of community is inconvenience. That is what Muhammad said. And that is actually how our societies of the past create sort of, that's how morality, that's how culture works, In the past, if we got, a prolific liar or whatever, we create some sort of unspoken rule about, okay, you don't trust anything people say. Now we don't have that kind of real direct observation to a liar. Now we sort of the act of lying has been shoved under the mat.
Not just that, lying has been glorified.
Yeah, glorified.
You don't have to tell the truth anymore.
Yes.
Post-truth.
Yeah. Why? And then we don't have any culture to provide some sort of stopgap against this kind of stuff. Why? Because we do not have a direct engagement. That's why media literacy and the understanding of rhetoric have gone down.
Yeah.
So this is one of my expectations.
In an interview, these two guys, unqualified experts trying to romanticize the past, right? How do you bring back the spirit, bring back the Kampung spirit, the Gotong spirit now, where we are today? Because this is philosophical. What is that 5 feet view thing that we can do as individuals? So I'm not talking about policy. I'm not talking about people.
People-wise. This is where I disagree with Zaid. This is not really a philosophical thing because we can directly observe this, right? Can the normal people do before we talk about policy? We can do lah. We ask ourselves, why do we live? Why do we even breathe? Why do we even have kids? Why do we even pay service to our parents? Why? We barely meditate on this. Why? When we meditate lah, you ruminate lah, contemplate lah. You barely contemplate on this. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we barely contemplate this kind of why do we even have kids? And that's the first step. The second step is understanding that whatever you do, especially in the relation between human to human relation, whatever you give service to other people, you also give service to yourself. Yeah. And people always, this is kind of a Western idea. No, for the Muslim listeners out there, in Islam, there are 2 pillars to religion that people will always forget. One is fardu ain, which is you perform your prayers. Must do, the thing that you must do. You go to Hajj or whatever, right? And the other thing is fardu kifayah. Fardu kifayah is our social obligation. What? And if you don't perform one of the elements in these 2 things, you can barely qualify as a Muslim. That's not my call. That is the scholarly consensus. What are the fardu kifayah, right? The social obligation that are easy. I give you one easy example. One of the fardu kifayah is if you heard someone died, you must attend the funeral, regardless, whoever it is, regardless. Attend the funeral.
If someone died.
And that you already perform one of the greatest obligation of a Muslim. But now, right, when we heard someone died, we send stickers on WhatsApp. Semoga may Allah bless the soul of this poor fella. Oh, this barely we didn't do that. This is not philosophical 10,000 feet view. This is like real direct. What do you do? I'm mainly speaking about from the Islamic perspective lah, because first and foremost I'm a Muslim. Second of all is not second of all, but let me continue. One of the things that fardu kifayah in one of the hadith, right? In one of the hadith of the Prophet, he said that if your neighbor, right, smell your cooking, you are obligated to give portion of the cooking to your neighbor, regardless of it is Muslim or non-Muslim, regardless. This is what the Prophet did. This is one of the social obligations. Has we ever do that? This is on the individual level. We have yet to talk about.
So I just want to I think what you mentioned, I think Malays do that. A lot of, and I'm pretty sure Malays across the region, not just in Malaysia, but I've been so many times where people call and they're like, hey, I got some food. Why did you take some? Right? You offer, it's very common. Come to people's house and give you food as well, right? It's a very Muslim thing. Apparently not, it's not a Malay thing. It's actually like a Muslim thing, right?
In London also very prolific.
It's hospitality, right? It's very interesting.
Yeah. So, just to give another level of perspective, right? This kind of good behavior, how do you quantify in GDP terms?
Yeah.
It will not look good. It will not look good in any economic metric.
Yeah.
But that's the point. The point is how economy does not matter if there are still people hungry.
Yeah.
That's the point of economy. That's the entire reason why we elect people to govern economy in the first place. But if our economy does not serve that function, then why do we even have that? It's like why do we even have our car if we don't use it? If our car is like battered up, what do you call people call shitbox. Pardon my words, Yeah, I can probably censor that lah. Well, okay, whatever. This is just on the individual level. This kind of thing will be very obvious once we contemplate where is our place in the society, in our community, right? This kind of thing.
Yeah.
When's the last time we go and ask our neighbor, oh, what's up? What?
How things are.
How's things?
How you?
Yeah. If like this is how devious of system. If we want to, right? Why this is systemic? Even if we want to, do we have the time?
Yeah.
We go out to our office before the sun rising. Then we go back to our home after the sun has set.
If I'm hearing you right, it's not just systemic, but also it is individual.
Individual.
I think the problem is not because if you say systemic, then people say, oh, it's not really my problem. This is a neoliberal problem.
Yeah.
Right? But the neoliberals will say, hey, look, it's also an individual problem. Right? The people themselves are not doing their part. And I think that's fair argument on both sides, regardless whether you're left or right. I think the individual, the community, and also the system, they're all, I think, are at fault. Right? So you mentioned just now the lack of public goods, like playgrounds for children. And even if you have, I don't know if you're familiar, right? So I got kids and the playgrounds in the mall. Have you seen these playgrounds in the malls? The playground in the mall, amazing, right? Like in KL, a new mall just opened, and
got a huge playground.
So it's about 60 for 3 hours.
Oh,
it's very.
Very.
60 ringgit is like the whole day, right?
60 ringgit is like 3 bricks of basmati.
Certain playground in the mall, we can pay up to 100 ringgit, but it's a full day pass, unlimited, so you can come in and out anytime, right?
Yeah.
This playground, 3 hours, 60 ringgit, right? But inside, the games are mind blowing. Like, it's basically like AR, VR, XR games where you are jumping on a trampoline and you can see yourself on the screen. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. So like the commercialization of playgrounds themselves is becoming an issue. Like, oh, you can go for the free ones, and I don't know if you've been to the I would suppose the Taman playground, right? The people's playground. I'm sorry to say this, horrible condition, dirty, broken. You know, it's so dirty. Sometimes when you go to the slide, your shirt is picking up all the dirt, right? It's so
grimy and
to be picky, right? I mean, but there are issues when it comes to public goods. The state, the government. I think it's issue when it comes to not just playground, but I think the more important one is childcare.
Childcare.
Yeah. So I think the crux of what you mentioned just now, right? If we can, obviously, I think communal childcare is an ideal option. If you live in an ideal world where there are, kibbutz, communes, especially in Africa, right? If you think about it, strongest, I mean, like a very strong presence of tribes taking care of children, right? And I think that's ideal. In its place, I like to see more provisions and more allocation for childcare in all areas, all suburbs, all communities must have a childcare center for the people. Because also, if for non-parents, if you're not a parent, you may not know this. I send my kids to childcare, right? Private sector childcare.
Money.
Money.
I don't have kids, so I don't understand.
Thousands.
Oh my god.
Okay.
It's much more.
This is very ASEAN as well, right? Multiple countries coming into Malaysia. So parents have state operated, state managed childcare is in like practically all the suburbs and cities, right? And when you have a baby, you send the kids there. Paid for because you only pay your taxes, right? So in European countries, you pay high taxes, but you see how your taxes are being spent on, right? I can't say the same in the countries that we're in. Countries that we're in, yeah, but not just singling out Malaysia. I think a lot of countries.
I think majority of countries.
You pay your taxes. You see where the taxes are being spent, right? So I think childcare is a massive thing that we have to address moving forward, right? Especially the regulation of childcare, the subsidized childcare for people. And to be fair to Singapore, because they have a very low, extremely low total fertility rate, replacement rate. What's the word? TPR.
TPRP. I don't know. Whatever it is.
86 people are not having enough kids to replace the population. And that goes back to your point. The economic structure is not designed or incentivized to help their parents. The government, to be fair to the government, is doing a lot. They're providing subsidized healthcare, which they are. They're also trying to address flexible working arrangements, FWA. And maybe I can say this, right? Maybe the bosses may not be happy to share this, but KSI, actually, they might be happy. KSI actually has flexible working arrangement. We try at most parts to have a 4-day work week. With Fridays being work from home at some point. And so that type of, and by the way, if you have a 4-day work week, you actually have less people taking leave annually. Because you have that 3-day weekend, you work as efficiently and effectively in the 4 days to get your work done, and then you enjoy 3-day work weekend, and you tend to be less absent from work. Because I mean, companies like this are quite few in Asia. People don't have 4-day work week, so we have to start thinking of 4-day work week as a viable option. There are a lot of experiments now being done in Europe. I think the jury is still mixed. I think in some industries, great high productivity, really low absenteeism. I think, but some industries, they're saying, yeah, productivity is a bit on the lower side. So I don't know what's the jury on 4-day work week. But I think the arc of history will bend towards the 4-day work week eventually. I think even 3-day work week. Right?
Yeah.
So, and thinking when it comes to better flexibility for parents, including leave. Look, if your children are sick or your children has issues, you should be able to take leave specifically for those issues, right? I think it's so hard now, or calling people like, sometimes there's an assumption, especially amongst older ones. Sorry to talk about this, but
it's okay.
No one said, when you go overseas for work, like, who's taking care of the kid? I am taking care of the kid. I am the maid. I am the driver.
Yeah.
Parents now, right? Literally, mother and father, they have more equal the load. And obviously, women do a lot more, right? Research have shown women do a lot more. They have a third shift, second shift, higher mental load. But men are doing a lot more now. So when we say, work overseas or work long hours, you know who's it's affecting? It's affecting the other parent. Better parental.
It's compounded.
So you need to 4-day work week, if you get shorter working hours. That also means using AI and better management practices to do your work better. You shouldn't be in the office working long hours because that means you're highly inefficient. You're working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You're extremely highly inefficient. You need to have a better workflow, whether you use automation, elimination, or AI. You have to figure out that one, right? And subsidized childcare. I think those for me are the three policy options.
Yeah, interesting.
I suppose better provisions for public goods, especially when it comes to families.
Yeah.
This is to be thought of. And I think also to your point, this is another one that we can talk. I don't know if we have the right method to talk about regulation when it comes to social media regulation, community programs. I think to your point, I think we have to do some community building program. I think we have to teach people like, hey, you are in the community. Right, we have to
act like you're in a community.
Big City, in a study in 2021, they found out that there's lack of childcare centers in KL. I mean in urban centers support. And everything is wrong, but I think not childcare, child-friendly
architecture, public spaces,
just spaces in city. So there's a fun fact, just tie in your point. Think City doing good work. More Think Cities.
Yes.
Grassroots level. We need to have more of the KRTs, the Bukit Tangga, more NGOs, more community-based NGOs, more CSO to strengthen community. Because if you strengthen community, you actually solve a lot of problems.
A lot of the government didn't have to do anything.
The state that can focus on more bigger things. Foreign policy,
nuclear programs, and nuclear energy programs. Sorry, I'm so sorry. So anyhow,
Cancel, Luqman.
yeah, we still got like 29 minutes left.
Children, actually.
Children.
I think
Yeah, I do have something to add, lah. But before we get into that, let me tell you the story of the 5 day work. If I may ask you, do you know why we have 5 day work week?
this is
Yeah.
UK in the 80s, factory, manufacturing, industrial
Yeah.
architecture. Monday, no, actually, not my friend. You used to work all days, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, there's a idiosyncratic reason to the 5 day work. So, not to discount the worker movement. Yeah, they did a lot of work. They spilled blood and sweat. Literally, yeah. They gave us the weekends. Yeah, thank you for thank you labor movement. Yeah. So, but you know why the capitalist class relent on that? Like, so, like they said, okay, whatever, take the 2 days work. You know what? Because Ford, Ford, the literal guy, Henry Ford, he have a study. He conducted a study about the usage of his own money lah, and how do corporation can contribute to the US economy as a whole. And he found out that it's actually pretty economical to give more leave to the workers. And he argued, and he actually influenced the capitalist class to give the weekends. We need, if I'm not mistaken, I'm paraphrasing here. Say, we need to give more leisure time, the weekends, to the workers. So the 2 days weekends means much more leisure time. The workers will buy more clothes. The workers will buy more food, and the workers will reproduce. So these things are the basic building blocks of a healthy economy. Ford said that. I'm paraphrasing here. You can fact check me on that. But anyhow, so it ties into the point of the necessity of what we're talking here and how we can translate it into the bigger policy term. Because if not, this is to scare you, all you elites and capitalist class, all you bosses. If we don't do anything about it, there won't be any workers. We'll run into the same problem as the Japanese and the Koreans. There won't be any workers, and then you have to deal with the influx of migrant workers, and that will not satisfy the right-wing base of the political class you are in.
I'm going to disagree. The framing is important here. I think there's no such thing as capitalist class. As I mentioned earlier, yes, the economy is structured as neoliberal.
Yeah.
Basically, this is neoclassical economics, right? Neoliberal reigns supreme in the 90s. Now there's so much backlash against neoliberalism. Zoran Mamdani, the New York mayor, incoming New York City mayor, is a democratic socialist, and he won. In a city that is perceived to be capitalist. The reason why I don't like to use these terms like capitalist, bourgeoisie, because they don't exist. Henry Ford influenced the managerial class.
Interesting.
Not capitalists. Managerial class that, yes, if you pay your workers well, give them enough rest time, they will be healthy and productive, and they will buy cars. Right? There's no such thing as this conspiracy of capitalists. So we're here to dominate you. If there is such thing as a room with people smoking cigars, capitalists, I want to find that room. But the room doesn't exist. People have point to where welcoming quorum as this world government. Well, if you look at now, 2025, they're in trouble. The elite, the so-called elite, it doesn't exist. The framing, I think, matters here because if we use the right framing, we can actually address the right problem. And I think capitalism as the lens to analyze the system is correct, but capitalists as people are wrong. So this is why I think this debate that we have on the spectrum is important. I tend to be on the center more.
Yeah.
I do think there's a place for markets.
Yeah.
It's important. Can you imagine if everything was run by the state? I don't think we would like it also. And we've actually seen this before in Slovenia and other countries. Going back to this topic, I think if you look at the economy as having many industries and domains. Many industries are actually well regulated. Healthcare, well regulated, especially in Malaysia, right? Legal, the law, the legal profession, self-regulated by the Bar Council. In this particular one, attention economy is not well regulated, and this is why I think they say, "Oh, this capitalist, the capitalist class." It's regulated, right? Because the big tech have so much lobbying power to shape the agenda.
And they're not necessarily smoking cigars. They're nerdiest.
Capitalists can be anyone, right? In this particular topic that we're in, there must be regulation. And I'm going to even go further here, right? I think the Minister of Communications for Malaysia, which is Datuk Hamid Fazil, I think he had the right framing. He said that if Malaysia were to lobby the big tech companies, we will not be heard. But if ASEAN comes together, all 11 of us come together and lobby the big tech, they might listen. Because don't forget the policy that they have, these big tech companies, the policies are potentially harmful to children and people. So we must regulate this behavior. So yeah, I think this discussion is important because
some meditations on this.
Even people watching the camera, I think most people watching camera are not even rich people. I suspect they're not CEOs. Like CEOs would be spending time working.
Yeah, maybe the first receivers of the link will be yeah. Inside joke. I'm so sorry. So yeah. Anyway, so getting back to the policy lah, because it's just the anecdote. Getting back to the policy, I think one thing you said about Fahmi, the minister of economy, Datuk. Wow, much respect to him. That's so much good work. Anyhow, so he used the right framing. The direction is there. We can say direction. But for me, I think you will disagree. The reason why there's some sort of slow-moving action in this area is because we didn't put the focus right where it was needed. These kind of things that we're talking about, right in the domain of Ministry of Women and Community. Now, right, if you look at the history of the of Ministry of Women all across the world, this sort of ministry has always been token ministry. One thing, token ministry.
Symbolic.
And second thing is the policy, ministry or department of women, whatever it is, involved with women thing and community, women affairs, is always reactive. It's always reactive. And this screams into the, how to say, the tardiness and the unprogressiveness, the regressiveness on how do we manage the affairs of the state, right? Because you put the other things, the other periphery things that is really not that important in the project of building community has been giving a very unfair attention. For example, economy, forestry, some more, whatever, workers and whatever. All these things, if you look at the greater tree of community, get the element of community, these are the things that exist in the periphery. At the core is actually women and community. If you don't do anything about women community, if you don't put any focus, whatever policy you want to put, say protection of forests, for example, protection of forests. But if the people are not educated to love forests, to protect, then the same system will gonna reproduce itself. I'm just saying here. Anyhow, so we're talking about Malaysia, to bring it to the policy level of Malaysia. So what can we do? The first thing is we collectively as Malaysian, we should put much better demand of not centralizing, put the women affairs and community and society at the center of our government. At the center.
Upgrading, basically.
Upgrading, right? Now, Nancy Shukri did a lot of great work. We need to put it a bit more further, to put it at the center and come out with policy that unnegotiable policy. If you want better economy, you should be, if you, for example, Minister of Housing said, if you want a greater license to approve to build, you need to have parity of kindergarten built, of schools built, and playgrounds. And you need to have, we already have the Strata Act, which necessitated the managerial of apartment. Why don't you have that for suburbs? Put it into act. Okay, if you want safe environment, the neighborhood should pay some money to basically to afford some security and some measures in that is the effect of putting the women affairs and society at the center. Second of all is when you put this at the center, you practically bring up women issue at the forefront, which is a core issue. Which is women make up the bulk of invisible unpaid labor. When the women voices, if we can make some sort of mechanism to raise up women voices, the voices of women workers, then we can build better. If you look at, in the since we are trying to talk about the economy, the sustainability of the economy, we do this. Talk about this. It doesn't need to have much extra cost. The social cost of our tardiness towards the social ill is already like costing us so much. But if the government put an effort, say, okay lah, we legislate, we put into act that a certain community must have this size of kindergarten, the employability of early childhood provider will increase. There has always been a problem. A lot of students that studied that genuinely likes to really wanted to take care of children, they couldn't find a job because mahal, what? Right? And the employability, we raise the employability. When you raise the employability, you also raise the injection of money into the economy. And when you make the community much safer, the walkability, the shops, and all the shops that even artisan shops, like breads and whatever, can survive because when children are safe to roam, it also mean what? What are the demography? If it was safe for children, it's safe for us. If it's safe for children, it's safe for women. We cause a much better community environment for business to thrive. Right now, we talk about Kelang, We talk about Kelang. How do we make Kelang much a better place for business to? And the main criticism is, Kelang is too dangerous for business. Make it safe, lah. Make it safe. And this will not happen if we don't put women affairs the center at the core of the governance.
I think that I want to be fair. It's easy to be critical, but also we have to be fair. The Ministry of Women, Community, sorry, let me get the actual name. Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development. It's very new. It's been around for only 24 years in Malaysia. And I'm not sure if other countries in ASEAN have similar ministries. It's new. It's junior ministry. Their budget is also not that big. And I think there are a lot of controversies, right? I think some people say that some of the previous ministers or deputy ministers may have propagated conservative or regressive ideas. I put that aside. I do think that, and I think you were right to say that the current minister, Dato' Seri Reti Shukri, to her credit, has done actually a decent job.
A very good job.
Yeah. The thing about Dato' Seri Reti Shukri is she's not a minister that likes to blow her own trumpet. So the quiet work that she does, I think we should comment.
Yeah, anti-stalker law,
anti-bullying. I completely agree with your point on women ministry being upgraded to the same level as maybe even the Ministry of Trade. I think these ministries are at a high level. Right? Ministry of Defense, Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Trade. The Ministry of Women should be upgraded. There's another missing component here I think that we should also talk about.
Yeah.
We see that when we talk about federal policy making or central government policy making, we never think of the target audience like children. Should we hold the right of children? When the government wanted to ban social media under 16 years old, where were the voices of the 16 years old?
Yeah.
So where are these voices? I mean, this is not youth, this is not Ministry of Youth, right? Because sometimes I feel like Ministry of Youth, they target people between the ages of 18 to
25, yeah. The belia.
So it doesn't have to be a full ministry. It can be even like a...
Some agency or something.
If possible, even Gen Z. Who can engage children. And engagement might be a bit difficult with the consent of parent, of course. To get their take. Because what happens is, usually policies are introduced. You only introduce a policy. So maybe you need to have someone in the government that actually speaks on behalf of the young people. I'm sure I think there are, I believe in the upper house of Malaysia Senate, there are, I think representative when it comes to not children per se, but I know for underprivileged communities, there are reps. But we need to have someone in the executive. Please watch the previous episode if you ever watched on democracy that looks at children specifically. Because this issue that we talk about, screen time, is at the heart of children's issues. So I think we need to have someone who is dedicated to this process.
Yeah.
And that cuts across education, it cuts across youth issues, sports. It has to be more than that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we talk about youth, it's like, oh, esports,
Yeah. Masalah-masalah sosial, budaya kuning lah.
Issues as well. And so, and this level to be able to hand those issues to the top. Like it or not, the leaders in the region in Malaysia are not so young. And that's a massive understatement, right? They are not young. I mean, I've said this before privately to Luqman, that Malaysian politics, unfortunately, have seen the same. If Malaysian politics was a movie, it's the same movie for the past 30 years with the same actors.
It's just remix and reboots.
Remix and reboot sequels, right? Fine. If we can't change the actors of the movie, at least get in some newer actors for the sequel that we're about to watch.
Yeah.
Because I'm bored of going and watching the same movie over and over again.
Yeah.
Just like the next sequel, but we need to get younger people who can speak on behalf.
It's like we're forced to watch the same political drama for the 40 years.
I think
40 years.
They are deciding on policies such as this.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we should wrap up because it's actually we're quite. It's been a long episode.
Yeah, been a long episode. So my closing thoughts is just think about the children's, man. Just think about children's. Just think about not just children's, but your children. No, we can talk about policy lah, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's you. You are the one who give the devices. Think about your children's. If you want your children to be a well-adjusted adult, do every single thing now. Love them. Right. You just show love or something. Just genuinely love them. So I think that's the end of this episode.
We will see you at the next one. If you like what you see, drop us feedback. What you think, especially now I was just sharing this with you. I was watching a Stephen Butler it's an ad, but it was part of the podcast. He said that when he started out his podcast, he only had tens of people watching it. And now he has tens of millions.
Nice.
So, what does it matter? Today we have I think we have 100, right? On average about 100.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the future, thousands.
Yeah. I hope we can appease the algorithm gods.
Right? But now that we are in the early stages, we'd love to hear what you think of this episode. So if you are, wherever you're listening, just drop us a comment and let us know what you think. And let us know how we can improve the quality of this program. Until then, we'll see you guys at the next episode of Sidang by Care.
All right. Ciao.
You gotta keep that in, bro.
Oh, stop.